Hey, welcome to the Ryan Got the Bread podcast. This is episode 13. It comes out every month, so this episode is June 1st's episode. And today I have a general contractor and a friend that I've worked with on one project. His name is Aaron Mitchell with True Homes LLC. And what I hope to talk about today is the trades. Everyone, when I grew up, I was taught that you don't want to work with your hands for a living and all this stuff. And now that I'm in real estate, I'm watching all these guys make a lot of money, and it seems like a very good business. You don't have to go to college, all that stuff. Also, want to talk about contracting on the consumer side because people don't know how to work with contractors. They don't know how to find good contractors. I think all these questions are going to be answered in this interview, and probably the state of the market and construction in general, because that's crazy. Just like the real estate sales market is going crazy, so is construction and material prices. With that being said, what's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm thankful for being here, being invited.
Don't be a politician.
I'm not
Stop
being a
this.
politician. It's just I genuinely, am thankful for the opportunity to be here. Come on, we've known each other for a couple of years now, so
Yep.
come on here, share my little wealth of knowledge I have, and and pass the buck on.
Like I was telling you, I'm super excited to do this because I feel like we've gotten a bad rap about contracting, and it's always been looked down upon. Like even in high school, I had a teacher you're probably not made out for college, even though I could get straight A's or whatever. He was like, oh, why don't you do these trades or whatever? And my parents were appalled, and it was looked down upon. So when you were growing up, how did you get into contracting, I guess?
It's a little loaded.
Yeah.
I think growing up, it wasn't that I didn't grow up with two, I would say, mother and father in the household, so two-person household as far as your parents. So I grew up with my mother in my household, you know what I mean? So for me, I kind of would watch my mother hire contractors or call, whether it's calling PSE&G in to come do work at the home for something that, the washer broke, dryer broke, stuff like that. Right. So for me, just growing up in that environment and just wanting to help her, that kind of put a little fire in me to want to help people in general when it comes to whether it's stuff in their homes or just whatever, just because it's I'll grow up the only male in my immediate household.
Right.
So it's kind of can't have your mom, can't watch your grandma, can't watch your aunts or any of the women in general do stuff or struggle to try to make things happen and stuff they don't know. Not saying that women can't
right.
do anything, in my personal environment, that's what I
right.
saw.
They need help. They don't know the stuff, and when even a simple thing like my mom's shower diverter was messed up, and so I was like, yo, if you call a plumber, it's gonna be $300, and it's an hour fix, So having this base of knowledge is really helpful to be able to fix stuff and do stuff around the house. So that makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. And then I think besides that, I always always was good at math. Naturally, and then I kind of always liked buildings, architecture as well. So even growing up, even teachers oh man, he could be an engineer, he could do this, he could do that. So then I started going to college doing aeronautical engineering. But 2 maths, 2 sciences, every semester and all that stuff. So too much.
Right.
And then it was kind of okay, this isn't kind of what I would want to do. And plus I had a full ride scholarship, Army ROTC scholarship as well. So then it was kind of I don't want to do aeronautical, and I don't want to.
Was it too theoretical? What didn't you like about it?
Even when you was in high school, you were taking it was AP Calc or something like that. And once it got theoretical, I was I'm out.
It's
because
dumb.
It makes no sense to me.
It doesn't matter.
I don't want to apply something just on theory without nothing backing it. And then when you ask the teachers, well, why are we doing this? And they can't answer you. Mm-hmm. And then it became a problem for me. So I kind of tapped out, and then my grades start slipping. My mom's like, you're smart, you should know better. It's yeah, but I'm bored, and I don't want to do something I don't understand. So I'm good.
Right. So what let's start fast forward to current day. Like, what are you doing? What does a general contractor do? And
So
what's your day to day look like?
Oh, my day to day is hectic. I mean, I get up early, so
How early?
some days it could be as early as 4:00. It could be as late as 6. You know what I mean? But generally, that's how early I start my day. So whether it's going through my goal for the day or for the week, I kind of do that every day.
Mm-hmm.
And then really planning out whether I have to go grab supplies, or I have to go to vendors, whether it's a plumbing supply, lumber supply, or I'm going to Home Depot or Lowe's. So I kind of
What? So look, because I've done stuff, not as much as you, but going to the damn Home Depot and Lowe's takes how long when you're looking? Well, you're probably faster, but when they send me to the Home Depot, I'm in there for 2 hours looking for stuff.
It depends on the time of day. And then nowadays it's crazy because I don't care if you're going at 6 in the morning. I don't care if you're going at 9 o'clock, where you're thinking everyone's already out and about, got their stuff, and it's still packed. You know what I mean? And then with the COVID and the lines going on, it kind of makes it a longer process. So I always say now, if I don't go in the morning, I'm not going till lunchtime, and I literally would take an hour out of my day to eat and go to Home Depot or Lowe's because I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
So you're kind of like, good luck.
We always talk about one question that I have that's pretty important is how do you find a good contractor? Like if you were talking to somebody, that was in a different state or something, what would you tell them about finding a contractor?
So every state is different.
And we're in New Jersey, just for context too.
So at the end of the day, like New Jersey, Pennsylvania, it's called a home improvement contractors registration. A lot of people get it confused saying it's a license, but it's not, because if you get a license, like being in real estate, you take a test.
Right.
You know what I mean? In New Jersey and Pennsylvania, there is no test for contractors.
Yeah, anybody could get it.
Right, anyone can get one. Now, some states there are. You have to take an actual test, and then you'll become a licensed contractor. So at the end of the day, I always say start off with your state website, like New Jersey Consumer Affairs. You know what I mean? And then you can see, you can search for a contractor, somebody you met, see if they're legitimate. I mean, whether they're using their personal name, whether they're using a business name, look them up. Number one, see if they have an active registration or license. Besides that, you go on Better Business Bureau, and then I think the best thing to do, look up the company online, do a Google search on them, and then go off of word of mouth and talk to people. And at the end of the day, once you identify contractors you want to talk to, vet them. Meet with them, call them, ask them questions. Have them come out to
what
your
are good
property.
questions to ask a contractor? Right, I don't know nothing. If I don't know anything about construction, first time hiring somebody, what should I say to them? And is this before they come out to my house? Like, what? Tell me like the whole process, right?
So this is what I always tell people. I don't care if you hire me or not. I want you to be educated.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd rather you educate yourself, or I will share information with you while I'm talking to you. But the key is for you as a homeowner, or whether it's an investor, whatever, find out what you, number one, want to do. You know what I mean? Don't call us, right. Don't call us asking us questions like, you want me to plan out your vision? I'm not you.
Right.
So I don't know what you want. So I can't help you if you don't know.
Right.
And I'm not going to spend your money for you. That would be irresponsible of me to do. So
that happens a lot, right? Yeah. Like people don't know. Well, they don't know what they don't know too. So they don't know what's possible and not possible. And what I always find is difficult is people are watching HGTV.
Oh yeah.
And so they want to do that. And some of this stuff is custom, and they don't understand that if you're doing something that is not done every day, it costs exponentially more. It takes more time, and the materials, you might have to find the materials. Right. They're not at Home Depot. They're not at Lowe's. They're not at Floor and Decor somewhere readily available. So people need to understand if you're asking for certain things, it's going to cost more, because people will be shocked at pricing sometimes.
Yeah. Like there's we had to wrap this post on the front of this house.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought the customer just wanted to have, like we call it capping, like how you cap a window, just doing wrapping it in aluminum.
Right.
So that's what I thought they just wanted. Right? No, they want to actually like a PVC wrap around it. So I had to go to a supply house to go get that wrap because you couldn't find it at Home Depot or Lowe's or something like that. And when you order sometimes some of this stuff that's custom, if you want to say, it's almost like a la carte. You don't buy a wrap with a trim base at the bottom and the top. No, everything's separate. So you buy the wrap, well, that might be $200. Now the trim on the bottom might be another $80. The trim on top might be another $80. So now you thinking something's going to be cheap, but no, the materials already cost me about 300 some bucks, and now it's the labor to put it in. So that's why it's kind of important to, number one, know what you want. If you don't know, talk to your contractor. We could talk about, different options for you. So you at least know what your budget will be, or if you need to increase it, or make whatever decision you want to make.
What do you think are some red flags if you're dealing with a contractor, things that they might do or say that maybe you should be concerned?
I think the big one that most people know is like when it comes like to money. When they ask for, hey, can you pay me up front or give me 50% of the job or something up front, it's a little sketchy in my opinion because generally like what we do, if it's a big job, I don't need 50% of your money.
What's big? I mean?
Like I could say substantial would be anything over like, I would say anything over like 30,000. You know what I mean? I would consider big relatively to like something small, doing like a quick like paint job or something like that. So when you're spending, at least a solid good 5 figures or more, no one needs all your money. You know what I mean? So if a contractor's asking for your money up front, why? Because the thing is, that first deposit should be enough to cover the initial materials and maybe some of the initial labor costs to get started. You know what I mean?
And the thing about that is what contractors get in trouble with that I've ran into is that they might have underpriced something.
Right.
And now they got to finish it, or they messed up the money. So they took the money up front and then they went out drinking or partying or doing whatever with clients' money that's supposed to be used for the job. And now they don't have enough money. So they got to do another job to get the money to pay for the first job.
Oh, man. So
and there's guys that always work like that, though.
Never pay a contractor like to their, I shouldn't say never, but don't pay them to their name. Don't write them a check to John Smith. You know what I mean? Like, hey, what's the name of your business? You know what I mean? They should have a business. I don't care if it's your name. I don't care if it's Ryan.Fagan LLC. Right. You know what I mean?
It's easy to get a LLC or something.
It's easy to do because, number one, it's protecting you as the customer as well. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you have to protect your money and look at it in your own best interest. So, and like I said, I'm not saying all contractors are bad or nothing like that at all. It's just that you have to establish that rapport with that person and really understand their business model, and how they operate. So it's good to ask those questions. Hey, how do you take payment? You do check, credit, cash, you know what I mean? How do you record it? You know what I mean? How do you do your deposits?
These are good points because there's no set standard way. No. Everyone does business differently. Like just even this video business, people price differently, they work differently, they get paid differently. Certain things are included in certain things are assumed they're included that might not be included. So like one thing I've learned is to be very specific about what the scope of the work is.
Right.
Because like installing a kitchen, like what does that mean that they're hooking up the plumbing, or are they only installing the cabinets? Are they putting in the countertop? Like, are they doing the hardware? Like all these things are really important to be specific so that everyone knows what the expectations are. Yeah, and I think that's a big disconnect with people.
It comes down to time. At the end of the day, a contractor needs to know how much time they're going to dedicate to that project.
Right.
So all those little things matter. So that's why a lot of times if we're doing like a full like gut, we're pretty much putting everything back. Mm-hmm. If we're not doing a full gut, then it's kind of depends on, hey, what do you want?
Right.
Because what you're expecting versus what we're thinking
could be very different.
Two different things. Totally.
You got to spend the time because at the end of the job, they think it's done and you don't think it's done. And that's where a lot of these conflicts come into play.
Right.
For sure. Why do you think that pricing is so different between contractors?
Skill set, labor costs, and just guys knowing their numbers at the end of the day. I think in this business it's kind of hard to figure out what's going to cost what, and it's almost like if I know I'm running labor of it's costing me say $600 a day, you know what I mean? Well, that's what I need in order to pay my crew. The company makes their money to cover overhead and operating costs, et cetera. So I know that's what I need to charge my clients. You know what I mean? However, some guys might have a smaller operating cost.
Right.
So it can cost them a lot less.
But it might take them longer if they have less people.
Right. It might take them longer. Or your quality of work. Sometimes you got guys who pay a lot less and they got good quality work. It's all about how much they value their time.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's no one way to answer that. It's kind of like you just got to do your homework.
Do you think that, because from my experience, getting to know contractors, certain people like to do certain things. So the things that they're either good at or enjoy doing, the pricing's different versus if they're doing something they have less experience with. I feel like there's two different kinds of contractor, at least two different kinds. And you could break them down further, but I think there's finishers and there's rough, right? So guys that like to do framing and like dealing with demo and actually building and putting stuff up. The rough guys usually aren't always the best finishers when it comes to trim and doing all the finishing touches that the consumer is going to notice. Consumer's not really going to notice the rough stuff. But on a finished product, how meticulous are they? And I feel like that's kind of like two different people. Do you think it's kind of accurate?
I 100% agree because we know there's those guys. You'd be like, they'll argue with you too. I don't want to do this. I can't do this. Right. You know what I mean? Or not that they can't. They just don't want to because they know their skill set.
Right.
So I think that's a good...
How can a consumer kind of pick up on those things?
I mean, sometimes you could just ask. Like people ask us, what do you specialize in? And I tell them I don't specialize in anything.
Right.
And the reason I say that is because I don't. It's just me being honest. I didn't grow up, like I didn't go to any type of apprenticeship program or anything like that to be a contractor. The thing is, I taught myself over the years of how to do X, Y, and Z. I read. I buy books. I watch YouTube on stuff I don't know.
YouTube is great in the construction community. They will show you some stuff.
And then what else do I do? I get the code books. You know what I mean? So I can understand what is required of us. From the law. You know what I mean? So the thing is,
and that's always changing.
So is this kind of one of those things where it's like, I think a contractor, I don't care what their background is or what they did, you should always be educating yourself. You know what I mean? And then when that consumer talks to you, you could tell them, hey, I didn't just go to be a mason. So I'm not a concrete guy. However, I know how to install it. However, that's not my expertise. You know what I mean? That's not what I do. However, if you want a mason, I can direct you to one.
Right, that's the other thing. The general contractor can get you the subcontractors to do specific things. So, I guess talk about the subcontracting and that dynamic, right? Because general contractor's not doing all the work, right? So if you take on a job, you might bring on an electrician or whatever. Do you run into a lot of jobs where people want to get their own electrician? Like how, that dynamic of working with different people versus subcontracting and all that?
We do. I'm smiling because I'm laughing because it sucks.
Right.
And the only reason I say it sucks, like if a customer or client wants to bring in their own sub,
you don't know what they're going to do.
You don't know what they're going to do. You don't know how they operate. And sometimes you don't know what their schedule is as well. And you kind of don't want to have a lot of, those specialties on top of each other. You know what I mean? You don't want to have the plumber, the electrician, and everyone there at the same time. Then also, they might do something you don't like.
Right.
or might mess up.
I've
your
had
job.
fights in my flip properties before.
Right.
Because the electrician's punching holes and then they're putting sheetrock over what the electrician was about to get to, and they go at it, and now they're both yelling at me, you know, and now I got to resolve
Exactly.
the dispute, which is why I learned I really like one person to manage, you know, because the general contractor, if you give them the power, can just run the job and it'll get done.
Right.
A good general contractor.
Right. Because even like right now, we're at one project where we're waiting for the guy's plumber to just put the plumbing in for the tub so we can actually close up the wall.
Mm-hmm.
So the rest of the room, the house, and everything's been closed up. You know, all the drywall's up. It's already been, you know, if you want to say spackle, or the compound's already been applied, except for this one area.
And you just got to wait for their guy.
So I'm just waiting for that guy.
Yeah.
Now, if it was our guys, listen, electrician, you do your rough, plumbers, you do your rough. Once they're done, they're dedicated to that job.
Right. And you're scheduling it.
Right.
You know the order of operations for the construction. If Joe Smo, the homeowner, is doing it, they don't know the timing, you know, and it's going to cost money.
And then when you're saying, hey, well, I'll be back, or we'll come back when your guys is done, and your guys are spreading something out over weeks, which should have been done in like 4 days or something, we can't control that. That's on you. Mm-hmm. So that's why sometimes it's better, and I'm telling you, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, sometimes it's better. Let the contractor, let them GC the project for you, because it will be more efficient at the end of the day. You know, but if you don't care, that's fine. But if you're looking for something to get done quick, faster, let the contractor handle it all, because they know the process and what it's going to take.
What is your favorite part about contracting in this business?
I think my favorite part is the end result, because the middle's not always pretty. You know what I mean? And it's stressful. You know what I mean? Like, I'm in my 30s. I got a head full of gray hair. And people say every year it looks like it's getting worse, worse, and worse. Because they don't understand it's actually very stressful when you're trying to make sure, number one, you're staying on budget for number one. You know what I mean? Because it's not your money. And that's what I always try to tell people. I don't care if it's a $50,000 job, a $100,000 job. It's not my money. It's the client's money.
Right.
So I have to actually pay attention to how I'm spending and allocating their dollars. You know what I mean? So I don't want to have any overages. You know what I mean? So if something's taking too long or it's not on target, I need to find out why, or what can I do to speed it up? Or if maybe we found something else that wasn't unexpected, you know what I mean? Or that wasn't expected. You know?
Yeah, then what happens with the budget, you know?
Right.
Because this is the difficulty. You go to a job site or a quote, and you'll tell them, to the best of your knowledge, what it would cost to do it. And time, like you said, is a giant portion of that. But how could you know what time it's going to cost? You open the wall, you might run into 8,000 different issues.
Right, and that's like in most of our contracts, we just have that spelled out. Like, hey, in our contracts, we tell the homeowner, hey, you have to give me as much information as you can that you know of.
Right.
Now, once the work starts and we open up walls, you didn't know, I didn't know. But however, you have that understanding from the beginning, it will cost you more based off of what we find. Hopefully we don't find nothing and it goes smooth. But, you know.
And people have trouble.
It doesn't
with that.
happen in older It doesn't happen a lot in the older homes. Because in older homes, those are the ones you're like, you don't know what you're going to get till you get into them.
Well, that's why we try to stay away from those. Because, oh, Lord. Well, everything is crazy. Like, even a door sometimes takes 2, 3, 4 times more work because of the way that the house, like, it's not the standard size. It's a little off. It takes, like, it's almost custom work at that
Framing ain't plumbed. The floors ain't level.
Right, yeah.
But together it looks all right.
So when you're trying to put tile down, the floor is crooked, it's longer, right? And so that leads me into the numbers, right? Because this is something that people don't really understand. Like, even if you do a $100,000 job, that don't mean you're getting $100,000, right? How do you think that breaks down? You know, if you do a $100,000 job, like you said, it's really the client's money. How do you make money, and I guess the stakes of that, right? Because you bid the job for $100,000. Now you got to make sure you do the job and make money So you got to get the job done for under $100,000, and the amount that you make is kind of up to what it costs to do now at this point.
Man, I always tell people, a lot of people think contractors are rich because it's, oh, you're doing this $100,000 project, or this is $2 or whatever. I say, go to a contractor's house. You will see there's nothing done. We have the worst house on the block. You know what I mean? Because it's like we just don't, number one, we don't have time. And at the end of the day, we're not making as much money as people think.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is what I always say. I make sure everyone's paid. The subcontractors are paid. You know what I mean? Employees are paid. The homeowner's happy.
Yeah, you get paid last.
You know what I mean? Yes, exactly. We're the last ones to get paid. And most of the time, we're barely getting by on what we bring in. You know what I mean?
Right.
So then you have those jobs, like a couple times a year, you get those good jobs where you're like, I know I'm going to make money on this.
And everything goes smooth. Well, what is the difference between, how do you know that?
It really depends on the scope of the work. You know what I mean? It normally, I always say with your bigger jobs, you normally make a decent amount of money on jobs.
The bigger the job, you make a better margin, like more profitable?
Bigger jobs to me are always more profitable. Because the smaller jobs, number one, most of the time, you're dealing with homeowners who don't have a large budget.
Oh, so you try to make it fit in their budget.
So yeah. Because like I said, for me, I didn't. Everyone says, "Well, you go into business to make money." I really didn't. I didn't go into business to make money. I just really wanted to help people out, and this is what I enjoy doing. So for me, I don't really target. Oh yeah, I need to make X amount of dollars on every single job. No, I don't look at it that way. I just make sure if I can do it, if they're realistic about their budget, that is, if I can fit it in their budget, I will. And as long as everyone's paid, I'm fine. However, if I ever go into the negative, which I've never done.
Oh, really? You never lost money on a job?
Never lost money. Broke even. You know what I mean?
Which is losing money, actually. But I got you. Yeah. But you didn't have to pay to finish the job.
Exactly. Like I said, I've broken even a lot, or it came close to where, I only made like a couple $100. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which probably.
Wait, real quick, how long have you been doing this?
So I think August of this year for True Homes will be 6 years for the business.
For your owner-operator.
Right, owner-operator, yep. But as far as the industry, I've kind of been teaching myself since I was like in high school, you know what I mean, and learning how to do stuff. And then as an adult, it just kept going. And it kind of got to that point when I was coming home every day from work. I was in the military, plus I worked in law enforcement for the federal government. And I would come home, and my neighbors would be like waiting for me literally to pull into the driveway. Ugh. And the phone would start ringing. I wouldn't even get out my car. My phone would start ringing. Hey, Aaron, hey, can you come over real quick? I just saw you got home. Can you stop by and look at X, Y, and Z? So you're like, all right, I'll be over there in a minute. And it got to a point where it was every day, then around the neighborhood. So then it was like, all right, I'm going to stop doing stuff for free, and I'm just,
make it a business.
Yeah. And that's kind of how that happened. But I don't have like I said, this wasn't my upbringing per se, because what I tell people now, though, is if you're young and this is something you're thinking about doing, talk to contractors, see what they have to say about it. I think it's a good field to be in, whether it's electrical, plumbing, carpentry, being a roofer, because the industries are hurting, period.
There's no people.
There's no people. But and the thing about it is there's money to
a lot. I mean, you can make, you can make a lot of money as a contractor for sure. But, it's funny because I feel like contracting is one of these businesses, especially the more organized the world gets, contracting is still a people business. Yeah. So people need to understand that, like how you were explaining, which triggered the thought, is like you look at each situation based off of the resources the person has. Are they agreeable? Like, are they going to yell at me after the job's done and be ungrateful if I had to give them a discount? Like, all these things go into this stuff, and it's not like because people approach hiring a contractor like they're going to Walmart to buy something. And it's like, it just doesn't work. And this is the attitude that I had in the beginning. Hey, we hire you, you do this. It doesn't really work exactly like that. And I think, people need to understand that when they're entering into that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's like I say, you gotta educate yourself, and at the same time, not every contractor is going to want to work with you. You know what I mean? Like, people don't get that. It's kind of like you having the right client is just as important as the client having the right contractor, because it could be a personality, it could be a budget, it could be a variety of things. Is why you don't. It could just be where the property is located. You know what I mean? Is why you don't want to take on that type of project. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not. I always tell people, I don't care what business in, all money's not good money.
Yep.
So I don't care whether it's a job I can profit and make $30,000-$40,000 on.
If you're not happy doing it, and your name is important. And, it's a similar business for me. Not every client is a client that I want to work with as a realtor, because maybe there's just this breakdown of communication. And, if I think there's the potential for the perception that they think I'm not doing a good job, or I'm not, helping them out the way that they want, I'd rather them work with someone else, because it's a small world, because that person tells other people, hey, they suck, they didn't do XYZ. Even if I feel like I was doing a good job, if they feel negative about it, I really don't want to put myself in that situation, because it's all perception,
It's the truth. It's nothing but the truth, man. And it's like, because I know other contractors who got bad raps for certain things, and
you're like, it was the client's fault.
Yeah. Sometimes you listen and you hear their stories from,
that don't sound right.
And then especially if you know somebody, then you put it all together and you're just like, okay, it's not really what everyone's saying it out to be. A lot of times, I'm not saying a lot of times, but a good amount of the time, sometimes the clients like the fluff stuff. Make it seem one way when it's really not.
It makes me think of, I get a lot of buyers calling me saying that their agent wasn't helping them find a house and all that. And I'm like, no, it's not the agent. There's no houses for sale. Like, right. I'm like, you could work with me if you choose to, but I'm telling you, what your agent's telling you is probably true. And I don't know the whole situation, but there's just no inventory. I mean, there's really not a lot they can do about it. There's, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to do any better with the situation, because, you hear those red flags and you're like, oh, this is one of these situations when you have a client. Not to blame the customer, but I do feel like the lack of understanding about certain fields leaves people feeling negative when maybe they shouldn't feel so negative. And I always tell people, because, my business partner is a contractor, and he'll like hook somebody up. He'd charge him way less, on a 203K job. He did just to make it work. He was like, yo, we're going to basically help you out and make sure that you're able to buy the house and do everything. And then at the end of the day, they was mad at him, acting like he didn't do something. I'm like, yo, he literally probably broke even on this deal, and you're still mad?
Yeah, all the time.
So that's why contractors, you think they're acting funny, is because that personality thing is really important.
I had a client who I left, I want to say like $10,000 to $15,000 on the table for him, for an insurance job. You know what I mean? So their house, they had like a sewer backup. You know what I mean? So first floor, second floor is all flooded. Kitchen cabinets, everything had to go. So basically they almost got like a brand new home, right? And
you did it 10 or 15,000 under what the insurance budget was.
I did it 10 or 15,000 under with the insurance, left it on the table for them, and they still weren't happy because they just wanted something. I can't remember exactly what it was. Oh, I think they wanted me to put a fence in for them. And it's not like I didn't want to do it. It's just that I have other jobs to go to. And then besides that, they also want to do this HGTV, and they think everything's done in like one day. You know what I mean? Like, it's just totally unrealistic.
Right.
And so it got to the point where it kind of soured the relationship, where they wanted things to be moving along a certain way, and it wasn't, because they didn't understand everything has a process. You can't, put the cart before the horse. And because they watch HGTV and they think everything's done like this, and it's not, and in reality, they see it, and then, they had to take that step back after the fact where I said, okay, I'm done. Hey, the house is done and I'm out. I don't want to hear from you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now unless there's a problem. I want nothing to do with you. So it is what it is.
It is what it is.
You know?
So now let's move on. Young people who want to get into the trades or contracting. I guess I know your general advice was to work with, a contractor or something, but deeper than that, because we were talking before this started. So I was talking about how a lot of young people don't want to. This business is hard, especially in the beginning, because you got to do all the shitty work. You got to do. You're basically there to do all the stuff that you don't want to do.
Right.
So they're going to have to be crawling through crawl spaces, getting dirty, doing all this stuff. And I think a lot of people aren't ready for that, and that's why I think I see they fizzle out a lot of times when I see it. But can you speak to that, or what, give some motivation or inspiration? Like what, if you had a son or something, he was talking about getting into this line of work, what would you tell them to do?
Embrace it. Embrace every day of life, period. Because life isn't easy. This type of work isn't easy. But it's about the end result at the end of the day. So you got to go through those trials and tribulations. I don't care what it is. You know what I mean? But I don't care. I always tell people, we put blood, sweat, and tears into your homes. You know what I mean? Because literally, you do. And at the end of the day, it's not easy work. So for a young person to come into it, don't be afraid of entering into an unknown arena. Just embrace it. You know what I mean? And take every day as a lesson learned. Because even for me, I learn something new every single day. You know what I mean? When I'm out in the field with guys working, I literally learn something new every day.
Right, and that makes it one of those, and like you said, that's kind of why I like real estate, right? Because earlier you said you like the final result. Like, I built that. Like, that's a really cool feeling. And I feel like that with like houses. Like, hey, we fix this house up, and now someone's living there. I drive by, I see like, they have their kids playing outside or something, and I'm like, yo, we created that situation where they're there, and that's like a really good feeling.
I think there's like a video, or it might be a meme or something that goes around. It says like every contractor's that has a kid, and it's like the father pointing out the window saying, yeah, I built that house right there. But it's funny because it's like even every house I drive by that we worked on, it's like you look at the house, you eyeball it while you're rolling up the street next to it, and you're looking at all the work you did on the outside, and you're just paying attention to what's going on with the property, how's everything looking still, because you take pride in your work, you know what I mean, at the end of the day. So that's what it kind of comes down to.
I think that's what the challenge is that it's a delayed gratification thing, which is a tough human thing. You got to sacrifice now to get somewhere where you want to be, and that's difficult for people, especially young people who are getting pulled in all kinds of directions.
Yeah, his personality has a lot to do with it, because I don't think I know anybody who's in this industry that cares for instant gratification.
Right.
No one I can think off the top of my head. It's kind of like, even when I was in the military police, you know what I mean? You're the ones people hate the most. Because you got to enforce the UCMJ or whatever other federal law or even state law, depending on what you're doing. And it's kind of that people don't want to deal with you. So you love to be hated. You know what I mean? So that mentality, I'm saying, but it's like that mentality is like, I don't care for you wanting to like me. Mm-hmm. It's not about you liking me.
Well, that is another thing about the benefit of being a contractor is you do work for yourself, and you eat what you kill. Like, you can choose to turn stuff down, or you can choose to do it once you get, to that level. So you're running your own business, So that's very cool.
Yep. And I think like that mindset of just not caring about what somebody else says or feels if they like you or not. It doesn't have nothing to do with my work. Because at the end of the day, I'm taking pride in my own work and what I'm doing. So as long as the results are what we want and expect and should be, that's when that satisfaction comes in. and where I can say I'm finally satisfied.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, because the ugly is it's terrible. Work, the actual work is like There's some jobs, there's things that happen, and stuff you experience. You say to yourself, "Really, Lord, really?"
Well, okay, so that brings up a good thing. I talk to my boy about this all the time. Is like, if a customer wants to do something that you think is ugly, like the material choices and stuff like that, what do you do in those situations? Do you be like, I don't know if that's going to turn? Because I'm telling you, people looking at them catalogs and everything, and it looks great. They got the perfect photography of this certain area. They got all these wacky colors or different stuff that's not very traditional. And then you're like, I don't know about that. Like, how much do you get into the design situation?
So my style is totally different than somebody else's. So I always tell people, like, I don't know what you like. So you could design your space however you want to. You know what I mean? I might give my opinion if you ask me. You know what I mean? And I'll be honest with you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Hey, yo, this ain't gonna look nice, or this might be ugly. You know what I mean? Or it won't go together well. But if this is what you want to do, this is what you want to do.
Yeah, so, I don't know. Maybe you like that. Right.
So sometimes you don't say a whole lot, and not unless you're asked, and then when it's done, it's done. But it's been times.
Do you still feel good though? When
no, that's what I was about to say. There's been times I've been sick to my stomach. You're like, walking into a house, or you're doing something, and this is a paint color or floor choice or something they decided on, and it's painstaking to paint that wall or to do that. It's like it's hurt. It's taking away part of you while you're doing it, and it's like you're fussing at yourself every moment. You know, you're just like,
this is wrong.
This is terrible. This is horrible. And it's like, it's killing you on the inside. But at the end of the day, it's like, once they're happy, if they love it, great, good for you. Now hurry up, let me get out of here because I don't want to think nothing about this place.
Got to give people what they want. That's all it is. Hey, just give them what they want. But I'm trying to figure out the space with design because I think I do pretty good at design. Right. And people, like you said, don't always know what they want. And I'm like, how can I make this into like some kind of business?
So I always tell people, like, we're like a design, build, or remodel firm. So we help people,
right?
Design,
give direction if they don't know,
right? So I think there's a space for it. You know what I mean?
But it's higher end. You got to have extra money to be able to pay for ideas,
right?
I guess.
And I don't want to knock designers, but I am, so I don't care. That's what it is. It's not that serious. You know what I mean? And when I say that, if you're doing like high end work, maybe, but for like most people, it's not that serious.
You know where I get this? It's because I go into people's flips, right?
Right.
And I know what some of the materials are costing per unit,
right?
And I'm like, if you had chosen a better unit at the same price to have consistency throughout the house, have a theme,
right?
You probably sell the house for a little bit more,
right?
So I think there is value in it, but I think it, obviously for a homeowner who's getting a kitchen, they probably barely have the money to do the kitchen job, and they're going to pay for someone to give them suggestions on the design, and then they're probably going to go do whatever they want anyway. Right. So
it's almost like I think anyone can learn at any time how to do anything, and I don't think.
Some people are all awful, and a lot of contractors are bad designers, right? Like they care about build more than like the way it looks at the end, kind of like it'll be built well, but might not be the finish be it that attractive.
See, and that's where we're different because we consider all that,
right?
So it's kind of like I really won't do stuff if I'm not fully okay with it.
If you think it's like, that's whack.
And it's kind of like, if you really want to do this, find somebody else to do it.
Those rough guys always do that because when I run into them, right, they're like, why don't you just do it like this? And I'm like, that's ugly.
Yeah. Well, a lot of those guys are the guys that, hey, do it this way because it's quick and easier for me.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, I get it. It's efficient because they're used to, like, if they're used to working with tight budgets, that makes sense that you would do it that way,
Right. But sometimes you're just like, even my guys, they'll get mad at me because they'll be like, He's going to tell us to rip it out. He's going to tell us to do it this way.
Right.
And yeah, because it might be harder, but if the end result is better, that's what I'd rather have for my clients.
All right. You're always talking to me about you can't find no one to work. What's going on?
So this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Whether it's the young folks, they don't want to work. It's been about a year. I've been trying to hire for anywhere, I would say, between 3 to 5 positions. I mean, and I'm paying up to like $35 an hour, on the books. I'm paying your workers' comp, paying all the insurances and all that nonsense for you. You can't find no employees. But that's the state of the industry. Because I guess, like you said, growing up, no one wants to talk about swinging a hammer and being a carpenter or doing anything like that. But then I didn't go to like BCIT from where we're from, like one of the high schools, like an Institute of Technology. I didn't go there. So if you were fortunate to go there, maybe you learned a trade, you know what I mean? But I didn't. And for a lot of the kids who haven't, so maybe they really they're not exposed to, the industries as much.
They probably don't even think about it. They're like, I'm not getting dirty.
Right. Or plus they look at the older contractors. These guys are rough, dusty. It's not the vernacular used around isn't as pleasant as people would.
Right. The job site, you got to be a man's man a little bit. You can't be acting all soft out on the job site.
Just be frank. Sometimes there ain't no bathrooms to use. So that water bottle now became a urinal. You know what I mean? It's like, that's the way it is sometimes. It's kind of like people might not be used to having being that, I would say, rough, if you want to say that, but that's kind of what it is. But at the end of the day, I think the younger generation will miss an opportunity, whether it is to make money or anything, or to hone a craft. Because even me, I'm in my 30s, but there's a gap, and you can see it in the industry. There's just this gap of you have skilled, tradesmen.
They 50 years old average
they
now.
50, 60 years old, and then you have nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then every now and then you got a couple of younger guys here and there filtering in who actually know something or they're willing to educate themselves and to continue.
That's why it's a massive opportunity.
Right.
That's why I was so excited to have you on. I'm like, this stuff, you can't find an electrician.
Right. You can't find but the worst are plumbers. I don't care what you guys suck, by the way. Just letting you know, you plumbers suck. Because they know they're needed. You know what I mean? And they know, they know there's not 50,000 of them around. Like contractors, you could type in your zip code and you'll probably find 5,000 contractors, at least in our areas.
And
like that.
The reason why this is, guys, is because the skilled trades, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, but it's plumbing, all those things require. You have to be an apprentice. How do you be like an electrician?
A lot of them have like a 5-year apprenticeship.
You got to work under a licensed electrician for X amount of time, and then you got to take the test and pass it to be able to get your license. So it's a long thing. You can't just do it. To be a general contractor, like you were talking, all you have to do is register in New Jersey, at least. Right. You just register. You have to get workman's comp insurance, but it's a registration. It's not exactly a license. So
correct. And so I think that's one reason why a lot of people kind of pull back. Because I wouldn't mind getting my electrical license. I wouldn't mind getting my plumbing license. But to have a 5-year apprenticeship they have to go through in order to get that, and then it's like, what's the money looking like? Because how are those employers paying their personnel? So that's why it's important for like employers to offer at least a decent compensation to your employees as well.
Right.
And then, but if you go out west to like Cali, Washington State, all out there, you got guys young, like 18,
100K
20,
stuff,
18 to 22 years old out there making 80 to 100K starting off, because that's how bad the demand is. And out there, that's the way they rock out there,
Yeah, it's a big opportunity for young people because there's such a void in the business. And it's so funny. I see how people run their contracting business. I'm like, damn, I should have got into this.
Yeah. But it's work.
But there's like you have workers now, right? Yeah. So like if you're able to run your business properly, you don't maybe have to kill yourself, you think?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, but you also, you don't have to kill yourself, but you also want to be at the job sites. You don't want to like alienate your folks and stuff like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you got to understand how to operate,
You got to work with people. You can't just set them somewhere and just be like, oh.
Yeah, just go do it. And
right.
like, nah, dude. Show up on the job sites, be there, work with your guys, you know what I mean? And at the same time, because they understand you're generating business. You're doing those sales. You're doing those estimates. You know what I mean? You're getting that business into the company. That way you're paying them so they got to have food on their tables and stuff for their families as well. So they understand that, you know what I mean? But at the same time, you have to be a person. Is what I say.
Yeah, right. I mean, it sucks. It doesn't matter what the situation is. If you're working and some guy's just sitting around, you're going to be like,
right.
And we got the military background, so that's not acceptable. You can't,
right.
Exactly. You can't do that.
Exactly.
It would bother me just off of that.
And then another thing, though, too, like with the kids and going into the trades, one of the best places I've heard about that I've been watching is right in, I think they're in Media, PA. It's called Williamson College of the Trades. Mm-hmm. Now, this is don't quote me on this, but I think it might be like a 2-year college or something like that, or a junior college. Mm-hmm. But anyway, it's for the trades, you know what I mean? And what they do is most of it is tuition free.
Really?
So if you're a young person and you're looking to get into the trades, look up Williamson College of the Trades, because I think they work off a lot of donors. You know what I mean? And whether they're big companies donating money, and they're literally teaching, these young men. I don't think it's open to women, unfortunately, but I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's only men. But they're teaching these young men how to be a carpenter, be an electrician. They're building their skill set while also giving them an education. You know what I mean?
So they get like an associate's degree?
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
And getting hands-on experience.
Which is more important. I mean, the degree is whatever. Right. I mean, it's cool to say you got a degree, but getting that experience.
Because you could go to a county college and get your associate's degree or whatever, but you're not going to get no experience. You'll never touch a tool. You'll never touch a tool. You never touch anything. So to have a college that's actually putting tools and materials in your hands, and part of your curriculum is to build stuff. That's cool. Do things. That's awesome.
That's cool. I'm gonna
check that. Listen, when I found out about that, it was only a couple of years ago. I was like, how do I apply? like, can I use my VA benefits here? Right. But the thing is, you have to be. I don't think you could be older than either 20 or 22 years old.
Yeah, they're trying to build a base for people, right?
But I respect what they do.
That sounds cool.
And I just want to give them a shout out only because I think for young folks, it's important that they know that's available and is fairly local to this area compared to, I got to go join the union.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which I thought about too when I first got the military.
Yeah.
Like they have the Helmets to Hard Hats program and stuff like that. But it's something I'm not a pro-union guy.
Uh-oh.
Because I understand it.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with it. However,
you lose your freedom a little bit.
Lose your freedom a little bit. There's not work all the time. And not every guy's worth $70 an hour.
Right. That's facts.
So that's kind of where that is, and that's how I'm gonna leave it.
Yeah, I gotcha. I know. I was gonna ask the union question. I was like, I don't know enough about it. And I know that's a big political issue, basically, with the unions.
Yeah, don't get me on that.
They're gonna put that rat thing out front of your house.
Right.
But young people, seriously, like Aaron's talking about, if you want to get into any of these type of jobs, if you reach out to somebody, they're probably desperate for help. So if you're serious about getting into it, most contractors, most electricians would love to have you and teach you. They probably need the help anyway. It's a great situation to reach out to an electrician or a general contractor, somebody.
Yeah, so. And then keep your license, young folks.
Your driver's license. Let's talk about this. Let me set this up because this is the other thing with contracting, and it goes back to how the consumers deal with it, but also how the business goes. Is like, this is one of the types of businesses that if you went to jail, if you had DUIs, if you got problems, people will still take you.
Right.
And so in this world, and this is why you got to be kind of tough if you're working there, because you might be around people like that. So like you gotta, just understand that this business got a lot of that element in it, which is understandable. It's great for people for second chances or to, because if you went to jail and then you working with a general contractor and then you get registered, I mean, you're going to run your own business and make money, but there's a lot of shadiness going on.
Yeah, it's rough because it's like.
That's when they want to join. That's when you get the phone call.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh, yeah. You get the phone calls.
When they got the DUI, they got child support, then they're like, oh, shoot, let me call Aaron Mitchell up and see if I can work with him.
Yeah. And then you tell them, yeah, I'll put you on the books, do this, X, Y, and Z. Oh, man, I can't have that. Then you don't hear from him again.
Well, you see, this is the other thing. You do your business very meticulously. Not every general contractor has everybody on the books, blah, blah, blah. Not trying to name no names, but right. I mean, that's a very typical thing in the business. Right. Now, you're a unique character for that. You got your workman's comp, you got your insurance, you do payroll, which a lot of people are just getting paid cash at the end of the day. So
yeah, it's tough because it makes it harder for me.
I keep telling you, it hurts your margin because you're paying this extra stuff to be above board, which is good.
Right.
But, when you're trying to price those lower end jobs, I think it hurts you.
It hurts you. Yeah.
But you can get a bigger job because all your stuff's right. Like if you're working for the government and stuff like that.
Because you come across the board, hey, well, here's my liability. Here's my workers' comp. Here's my bonding.
Right.
If you need to look at my books, my accounting, you can. You know what I mean? There's nothing to hide.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't have any of those issues when it comes to anything like that. But another reason why I operate that way, because I actually want to hire quality people. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that if you went to prison and that you're not a quality person. What I mean by that is I want a person who actually going to care about what they're doing.
Yeah.
So
and not just there for a temporary check till they get on their feet or whatever.
Exactly. So it comes down to that person's character is really what it is. So I don't want to hire just any Joe Smo off the street. It's more or less, do you have a skill set? Yes, no, maybe. If you don't, okay, but can you learn? You know what I mean?
Are you willing
to learn? You know what I mean? Do you have a driver's license? No. Well, that might be a problem. Because the thing is, some of the other guys can't be going around to the stores every time to grab supplies. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like we're not operating out of a warehouse or something like that. We're not a Home Depot. We don't have a warehouse to hold tools and equipment and stuff all the time. So the thing is, we have to operate in the ways we can for our business. So the thing is, I need guys who have a driver's license, who can go from point A to point B, who could get to a job site. I'm sitting on money to buy vehicles and more equipment, but because the problem with the industry and finding those right people, it's hard because it's like, dude, I'm ready, willing, and able,
Yeah.
But I'm looking for you. Is what it is. You know what I mean? So we're constantly looking. If anybody looking for work, wants to learn the trade, all I ask is that you be ready. Okay. And, and just, like I said, have a license. You know what I mean? Yeah. Other than that, we can work on everything else. We can help develop you as a person in life because that's part of the other things, with the business. It's not just about you working, getting a job done for a client. It's like even when you're working with us or for us, I actually care about who you are as a person.
And I've definitely seen that with the people that you work with. You be trying offline, you be trying to help them with whatever they're doing. And, I know you really take care of your people pretty well. And it's that military thing, right? In the military, this is one of the best things I've learned from the military is the way that they deal with leadership. Because if you're in charge of soldiers, it matters when they ate. If they didn't eat, you're the worst leader of all time, right? Even above, mission is first, but taking care of your people is very close second. And, if you didn't, give your people the proper break or let them go eat at the time that they needed to, you're going to get in trouble. Now, when your people, even like in Germany, if we went out to the club and we got into a fight or something and the cops arrested somebody, we'd be in trouble, or your leadership's going to be in trouble. And I think that's a really important thing that I hate about corporate America. Your managers don't care. Like, nobody cares about you. In the Army, even the people you hated, they cared about you in some kind of way. You know what I mean? And I always try to take that into any business that I go to, and similar to you, like, take care of people in their entirety, not just what they can do for you from 9 to 5 or whatever that time they're working with.
There's guys I still talk to today who worked with us, and yo, hey, how you doing? Everything's good. How's your kids? How's X, Y, and Z? You need anything? Are you all right? You know,
that's important, man.
Because at the end of the day, I don't really care about the business is the business. Who cares?
Right.
And in life, it's about the human interaction. Because at the end of the day, I always say we're all we got. You know what I mean? There's nothing else here. This table doesn't matter. Microphones don't matter. You know what I mean? Yeah. Nothing really matters except for the people.
The impact, and it's a weird concept that I've been thinking about a lot. I don't know. I guess getting older is like, you live forever through the people that you influence and how they influence people, right? So if I teach you something and then you teach your kids or somebody else that, now that information, you know, it was an impact that I had. Like, it's kind of like my perspective still living on. So I always think I try to remember that sometimes when I'm frustrated or whatever, or like actually when people are ungrateful. I'm like, you know what, I did my best and I was trying to have a positive impact and maybe it didn't work out or whatever, but I tried to be a good person.
Exactly. And that's all you can ask, man.
State of the real estate market, construction market. You've been very busy, right?
Yeah.
Material prices.
Sucks.
What's going on?
Oh, man.
Educate me and the people about what's going on in this situation right now.
As everybody knows, since COVID happened, everyone ended up working from home or people lost their jobs. And in the construction industry, manufacturers shut down and things like that. So it created a supply and demand problem. And what happened is that now, since materials aren't being produced anymore or as fast as they were, so now the prices have gone up. So the cost of lumber has doubled, tripled. I don't even know. It's a 2x4 is like $7 to $8 now. You know what I mean?
Be what, $2?
Yeah, it's like $2 or $3, something like that. But it's like $7 or $8. So the cost of doing any type of framing or any type of work like that has gone up significantly for the cost of materials. And then when we go back to the convo we were having about labor, there's already a issue there with across the nation with having qualified or employees in general who want to be in this industry. So then the cost of labor is going up every single year. So that's why we say you can make money in this industry, because it's costing. If you want that skill set, you want people who know how to do it, you're going to pay for it. You know what I mean? So now if you look at that across the board, cost of materials are up, whether it's lumber, whether it's plastics, vinyls, for windows, siding, everything is going up. It's like almost I'm going to say about every 3 to 4 months, there's a price increase from the vendors on like their vinyls, like those building materials. And then for lumber, it's almost like an everyday thing. I could literally have photos on my phone from going to Home Depot on a Monday and going to Home Depot on a Tuesday or Wednesday and looking at the price of plywood going up, whether it's going up 60 cents or going up $1. Literally, the prices are increasing like daily. It's like watching the stock market.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Everything's going crazy.
Yeah, I saw one guy, I guess there's this photo going around Facebook or it's like a meme or GIF or something. I don't know what it is. But anyway, the guy was like, it's a piece of plywood through the guy's windshield, right?
I see that, yeah.
So I got into a car accident, and I was going to
call the insurance
company, but I decided to keep the car and I sold the plywood and made more money or something. Or something like that. Yep, but it was funny because it's almost accurate where you're like, dude, a sheet of plywood is $60.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
What do you think's going to happen?
So it really depends on what's going on with COVID. I mean, I have clients who work for some of the lumber manufacturers, and they're telling me, it's 8 to 10 weeks just on them getting products in. You know what I mean? So that's literally them sending up lumber on rail cars, and it's taking at least 2 to 2.5 months to get materials in. So depending on really what's going on with COVID and those manufacturers and those lumber mills, it's kind of like we don't know. But right now, it doesn't look like nothing's going down.
No.
So
what's that?
So it's tough. So
are you increasing your prices? Like, are you making more money, or are you just passing on the raw cost, or like?
So we're gonna pass. We always pass on the raw cost. You have to anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm increasing costs, but it's nothing. It's not really to do with COVID or anything like that. It's more or less just to do with margins.
Demand.
It's more to do with margins and demand. Right. You know what I mean?
Your phone must be blowing up.
Oh, every day.
Everybody in my neighborhood has some kind of project. I see pavers in front of like 5 people's houses. I seen somewhere get a sewer line.
Right.
Concrete roofs getting done. I'm like, what is going on out here?
It's like we were putting matter of fact, around the corner from you, we were putting a roof on Saturday. It's like there's so much work because everyone's at home and looking at their house. Oh man, I wanted to do this. So now that they're home working from home, they want to get these projects done.
And you can't buy a house. You might as well upgrade yours away. Unless you got cash,
exactly.
Forget it.
Exactly. So it's busy, which we're thankful to be busy. But at the same time, you're just like, where's all this money coming from?
Where is the money coming from? I wish I had my soundboard. I'd be hitting cash as trash right now.
Because I'm just like, man, like, I make decent money, but where's all this money coming from that all these people got all this money to spend on these projects? Because it's like, hey, I'm willing to spend it. You know what I mean? I'm willing to take it. But
money's coming out. Money's falling from the sky.
Yeah. So it makes everything kind of interesting to look at. And you sit back and you Monday morning quarterback everything, and you start saying to yourself, what in the world is going on?
I've asked myself every morning, like, I'm not having a good time with working with clients or buyers right now, just because all I do is give people bad news. I say, yeah, we didn't get the house. We got outbid by a cash buyer. Oh, they were willing to waive all the inspections. They were willing to pay way over their appraised value in the contract. And it's just like, this sucks. Like, I'm just giving bad news, telling people negative stuff, and then they're looking at me crazy when I tell them to bid $20,000 over the price. They think I'm trying to get more commission, all this stuff, and it's just
demand.
It's just not fun right now, Like this times.
I think
for you know, it's a little different, but servicing clients is like,
it's rough because you try to tell clients. And you explain to them just like we're talking now, like, hey, the demand is
they don't believe you, definitely, when they tell them
right. You tell them that they don't believe you, and you're just like, listen, like, I'm doing estimates, and we're so busy. It's taking me a while to get back to people just for estimates.
Right.
Because it's like you don't want to spread yourself too thin, but you kind of are because everybody wants now. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's great, but it's hard to keep up with. You know what I mean? So it's tough, but I tell people in this market, if it was me, if I don't need to do something, I'm not going to do it. That's just, like if you want to buy a new house, great.
Know what you're getting into.
Just know what you're getting into. You want to sell your house, great. Do it. If you want to sell something, give Ryan a call. You know what I mean?
The problem is if you're trying to upgrade, you're going to run into the buzzsaw that buyers are running into anyway.
Exactly.
That's the problem. That's the dilemma people are facing now. If you're going to downsize, sell. If you're thinking you're going to get a bigger house, just be ready.
Right. So I don't know, bro. It's tough. I'm more nervous trying to forecast anything that's going to go on.
I don't know what to do. I'm not an economist. This is the thing. Everybody want to make all these predictions and stuff. I have some knowledge, but I don't think that I can make any kind of prediction. But when I'm looking at the market, we're seeing inflation now.
Mm-hmm.
Money was dropping from the sky. But when 20 people try to buy a house, only one of them gets it.
Mm-hmm.
Where do those other 19 people go? To the next house. And what we're seeing is inventory is even lower than the last couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
So it's getting more crazy than less crazy. How long can this last?
Yeah. So what I think is, I think I was telling you this earlier, but I say consumers are idiots.
Right.
And I say that because the people forget the power they actually have over almost everything. You know what I mean? So if you don't want prices to be as high, stop buying.
Yeah,
but it's hard to say. But it's kind of like, well, we need somewhere to live. Well, yes, some of you do, some of you don't. Like, 'cause some people are buying just because they want to. It's not really a need. So that's the difference that I think a lot of people get confused. Why are you really buying in a market that's so inflated? You know what I mean?
I think that's really important. That's the conversation I've been having with people, right? Like, what is your current situation? And if you buy, is that better for the consequences of you're paying a lot?
Right.
But the counter argument, see, I'd be arguing both sides. And actually, he's helping to produce here, Jay over here. He says I do this a lot. I like to give you both sides of the argument and let you make the decision.
Right,
because you know what you want to do more than I do. Maybe you don't want to live at home with your parents, and that's untenable. Then buy. Right. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you have a house that you already like, and you can sell it for more, do you really want to upgrade your house? Like, do you need to? Like, maybe that's where you don't need to do that. You know what I'm saying? So it really depends on each individual situation if they should do it. And this is the first time ever that I've been telling people, you might want to just keep doing what you're doing until later because the pricing is crazy. But like I was going to say, I almost lost my train of thought. The counter argument is, if you bought in 2007 at the peak, prices are above that now, right? So what's your time horizon? If you're only going to live there 3 to 5 years, maybe it's not a good idea to buy because maybe I don't think we're talking about a crash or anything, but I have no clue. But even if you see a decline, now you're a little underwater. That's not that good. But if you're going to live in the house for a long period of time, who really cares about the current value of your house? Obviously, maybe if you want to try to be savvy and buy at a lower price, sure. I know that's what you were. But see, all right, so
go ahead.
I've been showing Aaron Mitchell houses for like, how long? 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
If you had bought one of those houses,
right,
you'd be in a better situation now.
Yeah, but my current house,
because you was complaining about overpaying.
Oh yeah.
I would now look at it.
I would never buy a house in this market. That's just me personally, because I like to spend my money wisely. Yeah. And not to say that people are not being wise, but the people are not being wise.
See, our at the point of which we think it's too much, yours is lower than mine. But now we're getting to the place where I'm starting to say, it's a bit crazy.
I always say this: if I can build it for less, why am I buying it? Mm-hmm. And that's the way I, consider being a contractor, I look at it. What will it cost me to build this house?
Right.
If I'm spending less to build it, significantly less to build it, I'm not buying it. And that's what I see in this market. So for me, it's kind of, and that's even with these lumber prices being high.
Right. That doesn't even matter because the house will be worth, you'll be able to sell it if you were going to do that.
Yeah, but it's just crazy. So like for me now, like in my current house with me and my wife, I bought after the market already tanked. So I bought in 2009. Then I refinanced a few times because the rates kept dropping, but not recently. So like, I think if I sold my house today in this market, I don't know, I would say high 2s, maybe low 3s, depending on what's going on. Because
you're low 3.
You know what I mean? So
I think
so. It's crazy. So it's like I could sell and make a pretty penny, but then I'm like, well, where am I going to go? Now the thing is, I wouldn't go nowhere near me because what I need from the business wise. Number one,
land. Yeah, you can't get.
I need land. I need space. Plus, I got my little toys. You know what I mean? My little cars or whatever. So I need room. You know, and with the prices being as high as they are,
you're just gonna pay more somewhere else.
Yeah. So then it's like, well, the rates are low. Well, they were Right now, they're probably about what I got on my rate now, like threes.
Yeah. Threes.
So for me, it's kind of like, man, I'm not. It's really no benefit for me at this point, you know. So I'm one of those where I don't want to be where I'm at because I'm done outgrown it. I'm tired of it. But at the same time, if a good deal comes up, I'm on it.
There's no such thing, right?
Right. So if not, I'll just wait for it to fall out because I'm not saying a crash is going to happen because I thought something was going to happen in 2019.
Me too. I thought with COVID, everything. I was selling stocks. I was like, oh, shoot.
Because I was figuring in the fall of 2019, there was going to be a little correction that's going to happen. And you start seeing some stuff fall a little bit, but those were already in those markets that were already a little high. Mm-hmm. But then when COVID happened, and then you're thinking, all right, well, maybe it's going to happen. Maybe it's going to happen now, spring of 2020. And it still kept, and the rates kept falling. And you're like,
opposite happened.
You're like, this doesn't make sense. And then you start looking at it.
Doesn't make sense.
And you're like, from the market standpoint, houses are overpriced. They keep lowering rates because what I really think, this is me talking, I really think they're avoiding the inevitable.
That's the problem, right? It's an artificial market boost that they're doing. So, stimulus does that, interest rates do that, but it just makes whatever bad side happens worse. Historically, that's what I've read. If you could pump it up, which is just going to make it crash harder. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I have read things.
Like I say, it might not necessarily be a hard crash, but it should be a correction. Just what we say, a healthy market should have what, almost like a wave,
yes,
like an up and down. It can grow up, but it should be a wave on that growth up.
Right.
And this market for the past 10 years or plus has just been straight up like a 45 degree or even more. Probably
it was going up and then it went woo.
Right, exactly. You know what I mean? So it's kind of crazy because it's like it's not sustainable.
The cycle has been up since 2010, so it's over a decade.
Yeah, so something has to happen to balance it out, and it's not even from a investing standpoint, even just from the regular homeowner standpoint, or those people who are looking to buy their first home, or
they're getting screwed. The first-time home buyers, again, millennials, which I was working with a ton of people that are in our age group, and they were getting their first home, which now they're in their 30s getting their first home. Back in the day, it used to be, your early 20s, you'd be able to do it. They're getting screwed again.
Right.
If you're on an FHA 3.5% down payment, that used to be fine. I used to have bread and butter. Hey, 3.5%, had a seller pay your closing costs. You get in the house, $6,000, $8,000. Boom. No problem. Now forget it. Just go home. It's not going to happen.
Go home and sit on the couch and wait.
Yeah, and I feel bad because renting is not any better. I mean, you're just killing yourself renting something. Yeah. The only benefit is for people that maybe are stacking money living with either roommates or their parents or something like that. But who wants to do that?
But that's right there. If you live at home with mommy and daddy, respect mommy and daddy, but stack your money.
Yeah.
It's like, don't be going out there buying your Jordans and your whatever sneaker releases and all that crap. Don't be over there buying your Coach bags and all that nonsense like that.
Well, you could buy one.
Yeah, I mean, buy one.
You could be paying $2,000 in rent, so just save that much, and then spend some money.
Right. Just like what they say, do everything.
Moderation.
Yeah, exactly.
Aaron got the bread. See, that's how you get the bread. You just stack it up. Don't spend it.
Exactly.
What the heck is going on?
Stack it, invest a little bit of it, but have it there so when you're ready, you can make moves.
Don't buy Dogecoin though.
Oh my goodness.
Don't do that. That's dumb.
Hey.
Nope, don't buy Dogecoin. That's a whole nother episode. We'll talk about it. I'm gonna do a YouTube video about it or something. But
yeah, bro.
What else do you want to tell the people? This has been awesome.
I don't know, man.
Where do people find you?
So you can find us on the website, truehomesllc.com. That's true without an E. So truhomesllc.com. Facebook, Instagram. I have a Twitter account. I really don't use it that often.
You don't use your Instagram either.
Dude.
I would say I should help your marketing, but you don't need the help marketing because you probably are busy anyway. So why do you need the market?
Yeah, it's just, it's hard when you're busy to even focus on anything else because you're like,
oh, Lord.
You're like, dude, man, I should have posted these photos. But it's like, weeks ago by when you have that
triggered.
Thought, so you're like, man, these are all these good photos I took and I never posted them. And you're just like, whatever,
Scaling. It's so hard. I don't know. Like we're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's really tough.
Yeah.
I'm having the same problems.
Yeah. But
I'm losing the passion, man. I'm having trouble. Because I love helping my first time home buyers and I can't help them.
Yeah, well.
It's killing my soul.
Well, but you're helping them now. Like we're telling them now, stack their bread. That's all they can do. You know what I mean? The thing is, you're helping them by educating them, and you're helping them by not allowing themselves to put themselves in a position that's going to hurt them.
Yeah.
Years down the line. So, because when that correction does happen,
it'll be a better buying opportunity.
You know what I mean? It'll be a better buy opportunity, but they'll be glad they didn't buy when the prices were higher.
Yeah.
Because then they'll be like, oh, I'm underwater. Well,
yeah, no,
Brian, it's all your fault.
I am so worried about that. I am. I never want to push somebody to buy, especially right now. So I've been chilling. I was pushing people to buy earlier, but it was the right thing to do, actually. So
yeah.
But now, it's tough.
Yeah. Other than that,
True Homes, TRU Homes.
Yep.
On Instagram.
Yeah,
Facebook.
I think True Homes LLC on Instagram. Same on Facebook.
If you live in South Jersey and you want to get involved in contracting or the trades.
Yep. Give us a call. Looking for good people, great employees. I feed you as well. You know what I mean? So
free lunch.
Not every day, but
almost.
But yeah, positive. Yeah, sometimes
Oh,
people take advantage of you.
Oh, right.
Oh, man, they be like, "Hey, we getting steak and lobster today?" I'm like, nah, I give you a cheeseburger and a
Wawa
and a shrimp basket from Popeyes or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Popeyes.
But other than that, hit us up. Even if you have questions, like I don't care if you're calling us to hire us to do work, or you just have questions you want answered. Because
ask if something sounds right.
Send
a quote or
At the
something.
end of the day, like I told you from the very beginning, it's all about educating the consumer. You know what I mean? Call us about anything. We try to help you out if we can. And if you have any ideas for us, or just want to have conversation, I'm down for anything. And then besides that, the only other thing is too, also starting a nonprofit, just waiting for the nonprofit paperwork to come in. That's called the Grant Mitchell Foundation, which is a nonprofit for victims of domestic violence and at-risk youth. The main reason why we started that, because my upbringing, I didn't grow up in, like I said, I grew up with my mother raising me and my sisters, and we grew up experiencing domestic violence. So those are one of the things that's very sensitive for me. So one of my ways of trying to give back is to start this nonprofit. Number one, that we can provide services, hopefully sometimes some safe homes, whether it's temporary housing for victims of domestic violence to be able to go to, to escape their abuser. And this is for men and women, because men are also sometimes victims of domestic violence as well. And also for at-risk youth, if we can help them out in any way possible, then scholarship opportunities as well.
Wow.
So that's all coming. Just waiting for the paper to come in from the IRS so I can say it's official. But
let me know if I can help out with some stuff, especially media stuff, if you want to promote it or something like that. That would be cool.
Yep. So that's about it.
All right. That's the Ryan Got the Bread. That's the Ryan Got the Bread podcast, episode 13. Aaron Mitchell, True Homes. See ya.
Out.